And there's a book called it was written by one of my grandparents' friends called Evidence Not Seen. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. She was, I think it was in she was in a concentration. Anyway, the point being, I told the Lord, "I'm going to praise you every day for 1 year. I'm not
For
gonna
1 year.
sing, I'm not gonna pray for anything. I'm going to literally go on a 1-hour walk and sing, but you better show me who you are by the end of that year." And it was, sometimes the prayers were so deep, right? That I almost needed to divorce myself that and get back to the basics of, I need to know who you are, and I need so I remember the first time I was going out walking, and, I said, "Lord, that's a really nice tree, and that is all I have." Literally, and you know what? I love it. The Lord's like, "I got it. I'm taking it," you know? But there's
Yeah.
something about the sacrifice of praise,
Yeah.
um, where praise is really a sacrifice you put on. And so each day for 1 year, I would walk and sing. Um, and by the end of that year, I had fallen in love with him, and I knew he loved me. So,
Mm.
and during that
Beautiful.
time, there were a lot of other things where, um, I remember walking out of the lawsuit, and he had gotten continued again, and I was in tears. My mom said, "Don't let me forget to tithe later," and I said, "Tithe? I bring you your groceries. There's nothing to tithe on." And my mom said, "Ruth, the Lord promises blessings." And I said, "Where are the blessings?" And she said, "We're the most blessed family I've ever known."
So she's without a home, she's in a lawsuit, and she's had 52 surgeries.
Cancers. Just in cancer. This was at the beginning of this. But when I tell you, I mean, even when she had just found out it was terminal, there was nothing else they could do. I'm bringing her home from the doctor, and she's laughing in the passenger seat. I said, "How can you be laughing?" And she said, "Are you kidding me? I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I have 6 children who love the Lord and love each other and love me." And so
What an incredible perspective, but it feels too storybook.
okay, but see, I used to ask that same question to my parents. Having grown up with, I mean, when I tell you, I think we did one of our family reunions because we would have hundreds of people at our family reunion. We would have maps of all the countries people had been evangelists or missionaries in. So our stories are just, and I remember saying to my dad, how did they face what they faced? And he said, "Oh, Ruth, you won't know this, but when the time comes, he will give you the strength you need.
Mm.
You don't have to have it right now."
Yeah.
Couldn't have it right now, and there was something comforting about that because I knew I didn't. You know what I mean? But he would equip me when the time if and when the time. So I think
So you've never had, like, a dark night of the soul where you questioned your faith or your belief, or
no,
is there a
I
God?
had dark nights of the soul of questioning whether he loved me.
Okay.
I knew he was my savior.
Okay.
Knew he was there, but do you actually love me? That would be my thing, but it was never who he was. Um,
And so that probably speaks to all kinds of things that you felt as a child, all kinds of shame and hurt and pain you were carrying for whatever reasons, to not feel that the Savior you so truly believed in might not love you, Ruth.
well, I think that there were, moving so much, there was a lot of, I went through a lot with people, other kids. So those things are shaping you along the way as well.
That's true.
I actually was recently in Oklahoma City and I saw the girl, well, girl, she's a woman now. I had been in her wedding. We hadn't seen each other in 25 years. And she is the one, she had been the homecoming queen. She was in the all state homecoming queen. And she had befriended me when we moved to Oklahoma when she was at risk of losing everybody because they said, "You can't be her friend." I just hadn't grown up with everyone. I got the opportunity to thank her, and it was
Oh.
so cool because I don't know that I'd ever said to her, "You don't know what you did for that 15-year-old girl." You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I just sometimes I think the Lord permits these kinds of, um, you know, things that hit you growing up, um, so that you truly lean on.
So talk to me about your mom's journey through cancer.
Okay, so she forgot about it for 11 years. And like I said, 52 surgeries.
What kind of
She
cancer did she
She
have,
died
Lord?
in her 50s. She died at my age. It was a mouth cancer. I actually got the call from her dentist. He called me at my job and said, "You need to have your mom call me." It's in the middle of the night. And, it was a spot on her gum. It was something that you only get if you smoked or chewed for decades. She's never done either. And, it didn't respond to chemo or to radiation. So they had to keep cutting it. So by the time the end was there was no roof over her mouth. There was no it was,
Oh.
um and she kept asking the Lord, "If you're gonna take me this early, then please let me be like Samson and do more in my because of my death than you were even able to do in my." So there was a 6 she was with hospice for 6 months. I mean, every day they were like, "She's not gonna make it till tomorrow." And she would wake up and be like, "Okay, God, I'm still here. Who else do you want me to see?" So her whole focus was use me, use me.
Mm.
So, yeah, she was incredible.
And you were always close to your mom?
You know? And God did a miraculous healing with me before she died, that only God. I My mom and I were very different. I loved her deeply, but she had gone to Berkeley. She was a hippie. And,
I love that.
oh, I mean, when I say hippie, I mean till the day she died. Barefoot every day. I mean, totally different. In fact, when she was dying those last few months, she said, "Ruth, will you put on my shoes and walk around and let me walk around in your shoes just for a few moments?" Just understanding how different we were. And I had known, and I know my dad would in any way begrudge me sharing this story, but I knew so I'm the oldest of 6. We spanned 23 years. The last one was born when I was in law school. So it was a huge she had kids in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I knew from a very early age, I would have said 5, she said 4, she let me go. Meaning she knew I would be the one that would be okay. Um, I was, very highly self-motivated. I started working very young, put myself through college and law school. But there always was a sense to me that although I knew my mom loved me, I didn't think she was proud of me. And I remember, hospice, we were all out. She was in, Utah when she was dying. I was sitting on the top of the mountain at 4 o'clock in the morning by myself, crying out to God, saying, "I don't know. Something has to heal before you take her. I don't know what it is. I do know I have 4 little girls who are under 5, and I can't mother in the way in the way I want to, feeling a bit of brokenness in me." So I was praying this on the mountain, and I walked into my parents' bedroom. At the time, they were living with my aunt and uncle in Park City. And my aunt at the time was sleeping outside of the bedroom every night, and every day she was transcribing every conversation my mom. So I walk in, I'm sitting, my everyone's asleep. I sat in a chair right next to where my mom was asleep, and I was just watching her. And she wakes up and she looks at me and she said, "What's wrong?" And I just weeping. And my dad wakes up. My aunt comes in to tape the conversation. And my dad said, "Everybody out. This is the conversation that nobody." And I said, "Mom, I know you love me. I don't think you're." She had wanted me to go to law school. Um, um, I was much more controlled than my mom. My mom was wild and free, and um, She just didn't understand me.
Mhm.
She said she started crying and she said, I feel the Lord showing me who you are for the first time in the last 2 weeks. And she said, I let you go at 4. I
Mm.
known that, but to put like, I remember I had sat at the top of the mountain going, "Lord, I don't know that she would know." There's nothing to say to heal what's going on in my heart. Like, there's nothing to apologize for. She was a wonderful mother, like, there was no specific instances, but I knew in my heart there was something. That statement, only the Lord could show her. And she said, "Would you get in bed with me? Let me brush your hair and be my little." It was done. I don't cry about it any it is so healed in me, I can't even tell you, to the point where I know my mom is rejoicing in heaven
How
what God's doing with me.
how
So
beautiful.
that,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, was
How beautiful that you
I had that.
got that. But, I hurt for that 4-year-old little girl who was let go. I mean, to me, I probably hovered too much as a mother. I have helicoptered some, I have not wanted to let go maybe when I was supposed to let go. I can't imagine in my wildest dreams even thinking that I could kind of let go emotionally of a child because they were competent. That just I can't get it
Well,
right in my head.
and I'm probably not I gotta be very careful. It wasn't that I was let go in any way that you would think of, "Oh, she's a derelict mom." You know what I'm
No, no,
saying?
no, I know.
She didn't understand me emotionally, and I still can be. I can shut emotions down pretty quickly, and I just do my thing. And, um, and she had so much, uh, from her own childhood. I mean, she was married at 19, she had me at 20. Father tried to kill himself in front of the like, she had so much. Her dad left the day she was born. She had her own things that she was trying to grow up and navigate, and there was, a couple of months we lived in a tent while my dad was in law school, and so it was just there was a lot of her trying to grow up at the same time as be a wife with 2 little babies by the time you're 21, and,
That was really hard.
so, I looking back, I'm like, I don't even know how she did it. By God's grace, she did it. And she, at her funeral, I think one of my brothers did. It was like an eagle who put her wings over her 6 children and didn't permit her past to affect her children. So, and God gave us an incredible, I mean, that was the biggest healing thing that could have ever happened to me. And I love her with all my heart. So it was a gift.
Did you have an opposite sort of approach to motherhood?
Yes. In let me, I'm going to say that this way. My mom, she was amazing. And always have to come back to this. People would go to my mom because she could see people. She walked with their grief. She was so incredible with that. I was much more guarded, and she didn't know what to do with that probably. Um, and what was your question? Because there was something I wanted to say.
Was it a 180? We often do a
Oh,
180
okay.
with
So she
mothers.
was also because I think she struggled a bit with depression. So she could go from 0 to 100, whether crying to laughing to anger in a way that I really saw as a weakness because of how it affected me. So, Cindy and I have talked about this. Cindy, who has, been in charge of my leadership group, because what I did was I will never be like.
That's what I was
Yes.
wondering.
So what I then did was you won't hear me raise my voice. You won't see me enraged. You won't, control became much more of that. Um, but the flip side can be that you don't see my heart. So for me, it's been yeah, recognizing that and being vulnerable to my kids and being able to say mom's hurt and not like brick by brick by brick, just putting it all up.
So it begs the question for me, here we are with this beautiful platform you've built, this amazing book, this gorgeous television show. You're speaking all over the place. Did you ever feel with your mom that you really had home?
Yes. So this is when she died. Let me go back. When I was 10, we were living with my dad's parents. They had just come back from overseas and he was pastoring a church in Denver. And I was new to the school as usual. And all these kids were talking about their parents getting divorced. And I had gone home and my parents were fighting. And I burst into tears and I said, "Are you all getting divorced?" And my mom pulled me into her bedroom. We were living in the basement of my grandparents' house, like mattress on the floor, sit on the floor, and she takes off her wedding ring, actually sitting right here. And she said, "I want you to look on the inside of it. And on the inside of it is a triangle." And she said, "That stands for the Lord is the head of your father. We will never get divorced. You don't need to worry about that ever." That became to me, in the midst of all our moving, in the midst of different griefs, they had lost a house when had lost a house a couple times. And that became my anchor. So family and the family unit that my parents created, which was incredible. And again, that's why I have to, our family traditions and all of those things that we did collectively, it became it held me together. So then when my mom was dying, she called all 6 of us into her bedroom separately and said, "If you could have anything in mind you want, what do you want it to be?" I said, "Your wedding." She didn't have a diamond. She didn't have an engagement ring. So, like, when my mom died, I don't have any jewelry from she never had one jewelry. And, I said, "I just want it's just a simple gold band." I said, "This is what I want of yours." I'm the only one who asked for it, but I said, "That's what represented my whole life, stability, with your marriage." And so, yeah.
This concept is so beautiful, and yet I can't land where you really felt home outside of the story you just gave me. Did home become what you felt with Bob as you're moving 16 times in 10 years or whatever it was?
So we moved. We left Richmond and we moved to Philadelphia. And that first year of marriage, we lived in 9 places.
I can understand that.
I know. And so I'm waiting to wade into the bar of Pennsylvania. I don't have a job. We're literally sleeping on people's living room floors. And I remember we were living with Bob's parents for about a month, and they have this like field next to their house. And I go into the field and I scream at the top of my lungs, "God, can you see me? I don't think you can see me. So I'm in a big wide open space. Can you see me?" And but it was pretty wonderful for Bob and I. Um, yeah. So that
Yeah, how
started the whole 16 years.
yeah, I don't understand how that was wonderful. Because to me, it's like, I'm not kidding, to me, that's horrible.
Oh, well,
I'm
let's
like,
be clear. I don't know how I got through it, but we got through it stronger than we started. And that's
'cause it
near
sounds like a recipe for disaster for a
disaster,
marriage.
1000%. And let me tell you, it was hard, it was difficult. And if Bob and I hadn't turned towards each other instead of swords to, each other, we would have been in trouble. It was
I
it
don't
was
know how you
brutal.
did that.
And here I've just left being a trial lawyer through Attorney General's office. The Virginia Supreme Court Justice, who was my mentor, had taken me to lunch, and he's like, "Does your husband know what you're giving up? You're about to lose your mind." And it was horrible. So I'm not saying our circumstances weren't horrible. I'm not saying I wasn't an emotional basket case. I am saying that God showed up.
So again, I'm trying to track this and I can't quite find it. So you lean into Bob, you're moving like 9 times in a year. How does that happen? And you're not like a 20 something.
I'm
You
30.
know,
I'm 30.
we're
So I got married at 30. I'm 31. I mean, we had no money. Went from 2 salaries to his salary was less than what either one of us were making in Richmond. And our house hadn't sold in Richmond. That's why we were kind of whoever would take us in, we would go stay with. And we didn't even have money to go out to eat. So we'd sit and I had a game of sequence and we would play in our bed. And to this day, we have the lid of it that has all our scores from that first.
That's hilarious. I love that, though. That's
So
very
what I would
romantic.
say is that it was almost, if I think about it, the Lord knit us so tightly that we could then handle the next 16 years, which
What was your mission statement?
oh, we had several things, but part of it was love hard, play hard. Was love hard, play hard, work hard. We just had a number of things that we really highly valued. And so I got pregnant that first year. That's when we met with the realtor and she said, "What can you afford?" And we told her and she burst out laughing and she said, "You can't live here."
I don't like her.
She then became our realtor for about 16 transactions. We hold the record
Stop.
for the entire her realty company. She called us back 2 weeks later and said, "Are you afraid of hard work?" I didn't know what that meant.
Next week, in part 3 with Ruth, 9 moves in a year, financial struggles, and the question that changed how she prays. Don't miss it.